All right, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for joining us today for our A Month of Service presentation of taxpayer rights and income tax preparation. My name is Nia Murray. I am Programs Coordinator with Neighborhood Recovery Community Development Corporation, and we are one of the partners in the A Month of Service program. Included in our partnership is also the City of Houston's Department of Neighborhoods, and joining us is Ms. Myra Hippolyte. And our presenting partner for today is with the Houston Volunteer Lawyers with Ms. Luz Martinez. And also a presenting guest for us today is Raymond Nguyen with the Baker Ripley Neighborhood Tax Centers. So again, thank you all for joining us this afternoon. Just to kind of give you guys a little bit of a background, A Month of Service is a collaboration of all these 8 different organizations that you see here on the screen, including Neighborhood Recovery, the City of Houston's Department of Neighborhoods, Houston Volunteer Lawyers, Lone Star Legal Aid, Harris County Appraisal District, Harris County Tax Assessor Collector's Office, the Earl Carl Institute, and also the Houston Bar Association. Any of our programs or workshops that you see that has a course number, Houston Bar Association has sponsored for attorneys to receive continuing legal education credits. So for those that are attorneys, or if you know of attorneys that need to take advantage of that benefit, please make sure that you include your bar number when you register. So collectively, again, we all make up the A Month of Service, and basically A Month of Service is all of us getting together because we all have a common goal of serving the same community. We felt it'd be more, it would create a larger impact by us collaborating together to create these workshops that we can offer to the Houston community, Houston, Harris County, and also throughout the state of Texas community. You know, bringing information and resources, letting people know what services are available, and also just providing them with basic information that we know that they generally probably would not have access to, or don't know where to go for particular services or needs. So we do this on a monthly basis. We used to be able to provide these workshops in various neighborhoods throughout the Houston area every month, but of course, due to COVID, we've had to adapt and adjust, and we didn't want to stop doing what we were doing, so we started doing these virtually, you know, in 2020. So for the last couple of years now, we've been doing this, and it's been going great. And we want to continue to reach out and provide information and resources and services to the community, and inform and educate and let everybody know what's available and who they can call and what they can do. I do want to give the disclaimer that the information that you do hear that is presented, it is for educational purposes only. It is not legal or in today's case, tax advice. It is just for informational purposes only. Because we are recording our session and streaming live on our social media platform, we ask that you keep your questions to be as general as you possibly can without getting into too much detail of your own personal situation. We do encourage you to reach out to the legal service partners that we have, as well as to Baker Ripley for any kind of assistance that you guys may need or any specific questions. But feel free to ask whatever questions you like and be as interactive as you would like to be. But again, we want to protect your privacy and respect your privacy, and not have all your personal information kind of getting out there for everybody to see. So with that being said, we will introduce our partners and presenters that we've got joining us today, and we will move right on into our presentation. So we don't want to hold you guys any longer than what we actually need to. So Ms. Myra, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Thanks, Ms. Nia. Good afternoon. My name is Myra Hippolyte, and I work with the City of Houston Department of Neighborhoods. On behalf of Mayor Turner and Director Takasha Francis, we'd like to welcome you to the Month of Service program. I just wanted to tell you a little bit about the Department of Neighborhoods. The Department of Neighborhoods improves the quality of life in Houston neighborhoods through people-focused programs and partnerships. We believe that everyone deserves a safe and clean and beautiful place to call home. So this is what it's all about. It's about giving back to the Houston community free information. That when you go home, and if you're going through a stressor in your life, you can go, wait a minute, the month of service has some free virtual workshops that can assist me in making the right, correct decision for whatever stressor I'm going through. Guys, know that you're not alone. We're walking by your side through this virtual workshops, but we're not holding your hand. That's when you come into the virtual workshops, learn from our professionals, and then you can make the right decisions. Have a blessed day, stay safe, and you guys have a great day. Thanks.
All right. Luz, would you like to introduce yourself, and then we'll have Raymond go and he can go on into his presentation.
My name is Luz Martinez, and I'm a staff attorney at Houston Volunteer Lawyers, and we provide legal aid, and we mainly serve the Houston area and those who are low income.
All right. Raymond?
Hi, Raymond Nguyen with Baker Ripley Neighborhood Tax Centers. This is our 13th year, preparing free quality tax returns for low-income families across the Houston area. So, yeah, we'd love to share the information that and the service that we provide. Okay, let me share screen.
So we will hold all questions until the end. So please feel free to type your questions into the chat, or when we're done, you can either raise your hand and we'll call on you, or unmute yourself and ask your questions directly of the presenters. So go right ahead.
Okay. So neighborhood tax centers, families. So we serve low-income families in the greater Houston area, families and individuals that earn up to $58,000. So we provide free quality tax preparation for current year, prior year returns, and amendments from 2016 to 2021. We also offer free ITIN applications and renewals. And with the new child tax credit expansion, we do have staff to provide assistance and guidance to make sure that families are receiving the new child tax credit that on their 2021 tax returns. We also provide American Sign Language interpreter for folks that needs that assistance as well by appointment. Okay. Taxpayer, so these are the items that folks will need to bring when they come to our tax center. Taxpayer will have to show a Social Security card for every individual on the tax return. Okay, we will accept paper copies or electronic copies of the Social Security number, but we do need to see that for all individuals on the tax return. If you don't have a Social Security number, ITIN letters sent by the IRS for every individual on the tax return. Of course, the government issued photo ID is required, along with documentation of income, right? That can be W-2, 1099, Social Security, or unemployment. Form 6419. So this is a new form that we encourage folks to bring when they come to the tax center this year. This is the amount shown that folks receive advanced child tax credit payments in 2021. Folks that are married, filing together, the IRS should have sent both spouse, one of each 6419, and we will combine the total to come up with the amount that that the family received in 2021 for them to get the second half when they file their tax return with us this year. Okay, so as I mentioned, the child tax credit expansion, just kind of recap for folks that still have questions in regards to this. $36,000 per child under 6 years old, $3,000 per child ages 6 to 17. Folks would have received the first advance payments in 2021, and they will get the second half when they file their taxes in 2022. Household with children may qualify regardless of whether the parents have with the ITIN, right? So the parents can have an ITIN number as long as the child has a Social Security number. So the parents of the child will receive the child tax credit, okay? With the child tax credit expansion, they waive the income limit, right? So you don't even have to have income to qualify for the child tax credit. So that's why we are reaching out to non-filers, folks that normally do not file tax returns. So to make sure that folks are not leaving all this money on the table. This money is definitely can help a lot of families. So our goal here is to make sure that no families gets left behind in regards to the child tax credit. Okay. So households with children that receive the child tax payments in 2021, right? Whether it be 250 or 300 per child, they would need to file their taxes, 2021 tax return this year to get the second half of the child tax credits. Baker Ripley Tax Center services. So we have 12 locations. For in-person services, we are accepting walk-ins this year. We have sites all across Greater Houston, Montgomery County, and also Fort Bend as well. This year, we are super excited for our first site in Conroe, right? We're a partner with Community Assistance Center up in the Conroe area for our second site in Montgomery County. So all in all, we have 12 locations. We'll host tax preparation and ITIN applications renewal at multiple sites in Harris County. So these are like our mobile sites that we have. Thanks to the Harris County funding, we were able to provide in-person tax day events at libraries, churches, schools as well, right? On top of the 12 locations that we are providing already have a permanent locations. We also offer virtual assistance as well, right? For families that does not have transportation or live further from our tax centers. So for instance, folks from Waller County, can still be able to get receive our services. So folks can go to freetaxcenters.org. There they will find information regarding our information and link to our virtual service, so they can upload their documents, and a volunteer tax preparer will be able to guide them through that process remotely. So folks don't have to go in person, they can still get our services remotely as well. Okay. This is our phone number for folks. If you guys have any questions, feel free to give us a call, 713-273-3755. And for more information, you guys can also visit our website at freetaxcenters.org. Whereas the nearest tax site, also you can call 211, and then we'll be able to provide information as well too. Okay. Any questions folks may have?
I don't see anything in the chat as of right now, so we will, Luce, if you are ready, we can go right on ahead into your portion if you'd like.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Raymond, for all the information. I know everybody is looking for more information for this year because there were a lot of changes for 2021. And then I'm gonna share my screen.
Okay, and yeah, I'll share other slides with y'all, and then also Luce and team, I will send you guys our flyers, and then a form documents for folks to know what to bring when they come to our tax centers.
Okay, good deal. And I'll make sure that it gets distributed to everybody that registered today.
Awesome, thank you guys.
You have to unshare your screen.
Yes, yes. Okay, there you go.
Okay, you're good.
Okay, all right, thank you so much, Nia. I work at Houston Volunteer Lawyers, and we're a service of the Houston Bar Association. And today I'll be talking about the Earned Income Tax Credit and some things to think about for the 2021 filing season. And Nia mentioned that this talk is about taxpayer rights. And the Taxpayer Bill of Rights is all the existing rights that we have as taxpayers. These are found in the tax code, the tax law, and they're found in the other regulations for our taxes. but they're listed all in the Taxpayer Bill of Rights, and they were adopted in 2014, and it applies to every taxpayer. That's all of us. It again comes from regulations and also policies that the IRS has. One of the rights is the right to be informed, and that's the right to know what we need to do in order to comply with the tax laws. And that's one of the reasons why we wanted you to have resources that are available in the community, like the volunteer tax preparation services, as well as where you can get more information if you have any more questions about any of the credits and any new changes that are here for the 2021 tax season. And the Earned Income Tax Credit is one of these credits that families will find themselves relying on throughout the year. They're expecting to be able to rely on this credit. I'm going to share my contact information. If you have any questions or you would like to talk to me, you're welcome to call me at 713-275-0144, or you can email me at luz.martinez@hvlp.org. And you can also visit our website at legalhelphouston.org. And what I'll be talking about today is the Earned Income Tax Credit, how to qualify for it, how to claim it, when families can expect a refund, and things to look out for as you're preparing all your documents to file your tax return, and then what to expect once you file that tax return. Coming up January 28th is the Earned Income Tax Credit Awareness Day. And that's important because everyone who is watching today can share this information in their community with those that they know to let others know about the Earned Income Tax Credit. Raymond mentioned in his presentation that there are some people who will be able to claim credits even though they haven't filed a tax return in the past. And so as you're sitting here today, you can share some of the information that you learn so that maybe somebody in your family circle and your friend circle can start thinking about maybe that's something I can find out more about, or maybe they know someone who might be able to request these credits and receive a refund. For the Earned Income Tax Credit, it's a tax benefit for those who work. It's for those that earn moderate and lower incomes. It can help taxes that worker owes, and those are taxes that are due April 18th of 2022. That's this coming April. It can also be for workers who earn lower wages, and they'll get cash back as a refund. And those who are eligible can claim the Earned Income Tax Credit even if they don't owe any taxes. And in order to qualify for it, you must have a valid Social Security number. And that's a number that is valid for employment, and it must be issued before the due date of the tax return. And so this part's very important because there are some who will be receiving a Social Security number. And so just be aware that you have to have the valid Social Security number when you're filing before that deadline, the April 18th deadline. The other important part is that if for some reason you need more time, like for example, there's a new baby in the family, you just had a child and you're waiting on their Social Security number, you can request an extension to file your tax return. And in that case, you would file Form 4868 to request that extension. And that would give you 6 more months. And that means you don't have to turn in your tax return until October. But be sure to pay any taxes that you owe by the April 18th deadline. And if you have any questions, because you're in one of these situations where you don't know, oh, I don't have all the documents, I need to wait, you can always ask for help either by contacting our organization, or there are 2 other low-income taxpayer clinics, one at South Texas College of Law, Houston, and the other one is at Lone Star Legal Aid. So you might have a more complicated scenario, and you can always reach out to get advice. For the earned income tax credit, the other eligibility criteria is that you must be a US citizen or a resident alien for the entire year. And you cannot be claimed as a qualifying child of another person. And those who are single and married who work full-time or part-time at some point during 2021 can qualify for the earned income credit if their income are below certain limits. This is where your tax return preparer is going to come in handy. They're going to help you walk through, help guide you through these eligibility criteria, and they'll look at all your documents and make sure that the credits that you're asking for are the ones that you're eligible for. They are going to be calculating your adjusted gross income, and they're going to be taking your pre-tax income. That means the income that you made before taxes were removed, and then they're going to take away any adjustments. So these are the calculations that the tax return preparer is going to make, and they'll help you make sure that you're eligible for the credits. You can also use an IRS online tool. If you go to irs.gov, there are various tools that you can use to check to see if you're eligible for the earned income tax credit. You'll answer questions online, and at the end, the tool will tell you whether you're eligible or not. But again, it is always helpful to have the tax return preparer help you through the eligibility criteria. One of the reasons why it's so important to have somebody who has a lot of practice for checking for eligibility is because you want to make sure that that person understands what the eligibility criteria is in the tax forms, and that they fill in all of the information that's needed on that tax return. And for earned income, this is the income that a worker has to be making. It can be wages from work, salaries. It can also be tips that a person receives. They can be net earnings from self-employment, and a lot of people have been in 21 were making money driving a car for booked rides, running errands, or selling goods online, and they were getting money from that. And so that's a form of self-employment. If you know someone who is, for example, providing rides on an application, people are booking rides with them, they might tell you, no, I'm not self-employed. This isn't my business. I'm just doing this through an app. It's and actually the IRS sees it as you are running your own business, and you're in charge of everything. That means that you're in charge of keeping track of how much money you're making when someone's booking those rides. And so you're your own bookkeeper. Suddenly you're running a business. And so that means that you have earned income. Earned income can also be investment income, like taxable interest, tax exempt interest, and capital gain distributions. And so some of the things that are not included as earned income are things like unemployment benefits, Social Security and railroad retirement benefits, welfare benefits, pensions or annuity, child support, or alimony. So even though a person might be receiving this money, the IRS doesn't count it as earned income. And the earned income tax credit has a maximum amount that someone can qualify for. So the maximum amount, for example, if you're asking for this credit and you don't have children, is $1,502. If, for example, someone is requesting the credit and they have 3 or more children, the maximum they could get is $6,728. There were some changes from the legislation that was passed for 2021, and a taxpayer is allowed to use their 2019 earned income or their 2021 earned income. So this is going to be your 2021 tax return, and normally you would use the income that you made in 2021 in order to find out if you were eligible for the credit. But only for 2021, the IRS says, okay, you can go back and check for 2019 because maybe you made an amount of earned income that will qualify you for the credit. And maybe in 2021 you received more unemployment income and you wouldn't be eligible for the earned income tax credit. That's okay. You can use the older 2019 year to calculate your earned income, but just for the credit, just for the earned income tax credit. Also, only for 2021, more workers who don't have children will be able to qualify for the earned income tax credit. So normally the age range for someone who's working and doesn't have children who can qualify for this credit was limited to those who were 25 to 64. But starting in 2021, the starting age is 19 with no upper limit. This is new, and it also increased the maximum credit for workers without children. And so these are some big changes. If you look back at 2020, someone who was claiming the credit who didn't have any children could only get a maximum of $538. And now the maximum for 2021 is $1,502. There were also some changes that are starting in 2021, but they're going to continue in the future. And that's for singles and couples who have a social security number. And this is what Raymond was talking about. They can claim the credit even if I think Raymond was talking about the child tax credit. So this is for the earned income tax credit. And here, if you're the parent and you have the social security number, but your children don't have social security number, you'll still be eligible to claim the credit for your child, even though the amount you're going to get is a little bit less. It'll be what the worker gets who doesn't have any children. The other big change that's sticking around for the future is that the investment limit has gone up to $10,000. So this is the amount of money that's invested. If you had money invested, sometimes families were not eligible for this credit because they had too much. And this amount has now been increased to $10,000, and it'll keep going up this amount in the next years, like 2022, 2023, and it'll be indexed for inflation. So it'll go up a little bit. What's also new, and this is for 2021, is that those who are filing as married, filing separate, and are claiming the earned income tax credit can now do it. They don't have to file jointly. So for the IRS, if you file jointly, that means it's husband and wife are both signing a tax return saying we're going to file together. That means that they'll be paying their taxes together. They're doing everything together. It also means that the IRS can go to one of the spouses for the full amount of taxes, or they can go to the other spouse for the full amount of taxes. And so many many spouses decide, well, we don't want to file together. And it could be for several reasons, but let's say that they're not living in the same household together. And so the spouses decide, we don't want to file jointly, but we want to file as married filing separate. We're going to list on our tax return that we're married. We're going to include our spouse's information on there, but we're each going to be responsible only for our own taxes. In this situation now, these taxpayers who are filing as married filing separate will be able to claim the earned income tax credit. But the IRS has given us some guidelines, and these are slightly different. You must have a qualifying child live with that person for more than half the year. So the parent that has the child living with them for more than half the year can claim the credit. The other criteria is that they can't have the same principal residence as the other parent for the last 6 months of the year, or there's a separation decree or some sort of agreement, and they're not members of the same household by the end of 2021. And then after checking those two eligibility criteria, then you also have to make sure that you fill in the tax return forms correctly to indicate that this is for someone who's married, filing separate, and they meet the other two criteria. This is where it helps to have a tax return preparer review your information to see if you're eligible for the credit under the married, filing separate. The amount that someone could get for the earned income tax credit has, it's a range of how much you can get. And the IRS has several tables and charts to help you figure out how much you can expect as for the earned income tax credit. And this particular chart is from their website. So for example, if you have no children and you're claiming the earned income tax credit, and let's say you're single, no children, your income must be less than $21,430. And the range of the earned income tax credit can be anywhere between $4 and to a maximum of $1,502. And this gives you a general idea of what to expect when you're filing your tax return. Your tax return preparer will be able to tell you the amount that you're expecting to receive in a refund. But some of the questions I generally get about the earned income tax credit have to do with, well, what happens when I have 4 children or 5 children, and they're seeing that some of the other families are getting money for 2 children and 3 children, and they're expecting that the money will increase once you have more than 3 children, that it'll continue increasing. And what actually happens is that once you're filing and requesting the credit for 3 or more children, the maximum amount for 2021 will only be the $6,728. So a family with 4 kids who's eligible for this earned income tax credit will also get the same amount as someone who has the 3 children. And so that's something to keep in mind when you're reviewing your tax return. To claim the credit, you're going to be filing the 2021 tax return. And the IRS is recommending that you electronically file the tax return. If you're going to a tax return preparer, they will provide that information to you about electronically filing the tax return. The IRS has notified us, that the public, that they are still processing old tax returns from past years, from the tax year 2020 and 2019. They are behind on their work, and it's for various reasons. The IRS doesn't have enough staff to process those tax returns. Also, COVID restrictions made it harder in the past years to process those tax returns. And then trying to review the tax returns where the information didn't match has now backed up their other work. And so what people are experiencing is sometimes they're still even waiting for their 2020 tax return to be processed. And now it's a new tax year, and they're going to have to file their next tax return. And so the IRS has recommended that taxpayers electronically file if they have any questions, to make sure to ask if they are able to, let's say, claim their children, or if they have questions about the advanced child tax credit that Raymond talked about, or the earned income tax credit, because you want to make sure that the tax return is as accurate as, and you're putting information in there, it's as accurate as possible, because the IRS will be reviewing that. If you have a qualifying child, you must use the Schedule EIC to give the IRS information about your qualifying children. And so this is going to be important, because you want to make sure that that includes all the information the IRS will use. Some of the things that people run into is that 2 different people claim the same child, and all of that information is going to be completed in the Schedule EIC form. and your tax return preparer will help walk you through that information. Claiming the credit also does not affect eligibility for other benefits like Medicaid or Social Security income or for SNAP. This is really important because when the IRS looks at tax returns and they look at the information they get from taxpayers, just by looking at their past tax returns, they know that only 4 out of 5 people who are eligible for the Earned Income Tax Credit actually claim it. So that means 1 out of 5 people that doesn't claim it, even though they're eligible to receive it. And just looking at the past slides about how much a family could get, those maximum amounts of the credit, it could be thousands of dollars. And so this is why if you do know anyone who has questions about this, or you want to share the information today or direct them to the irs.gov website, it's a good idea, because we know that generally sometimes people are worried that receiving that money might affect other benefits, or that they're claiming a credit that they're not supposed to be. It's for other people who really need the help. But the IRS has given us the criteria your tax return preparer can check to see if you're eligible. We also know that generally people on average pay about $300 to have their tax returns prepared. And so one of the other options that taxpayers have is to go to one of the volunteer tax preparation services to have the tax return prepared. Because if these tax credits, let's say for someone who is single and is getting a larger amount of credit, a large amount of that is going to go towards paying for the tax return to be prepared. So the volunteer tax preparation services can come in handy. Your tax return preparer will review all of your information, and they'll ask you questions about your investments and about your children, and Social Security information, Social Security number information for the children. They'll make sure that they ask you enough information to figure out if you are eligible for any of the credits. And if you are interested in getting help, you can call 211, just like Raymond mentioned, to find out the nearest location and who's offering that tax preparation service. One of the other ways to give back is by volunteering. So you can also volunteer for these tax preparation services. They do provide the training and the guidance. And it is, I think, a good way to give back to the community is by helping others prepare their tax return. And so once that tax return is electronically filed, if you're not able to electronically file because maybe the system is not allowing the tax return preparer to file it, you can also mail it into the IRS. And once that tax return gets mailed into the IRS, if it is filed electronically and you claimed the Earned Income Tax Credit, the IRS will start issuing refunds by mid-February. And that is because by law, the IRS cannot release that refund until mid-February, because the IRS will be checking just to make sure if there's any fraudulent tax returns that have been filed. So they're reviewing the information and they'll be waiting to send that refund to you. If you have to file your tax return as a paper tax return, you will have to wait until the IRS reviews that information, puts the information into the IRS system before the IRS will release the refund. Again, this is some of the trouble that families have been running into for last year's tax return, is that when they send the tax return as a paper filing through the mail, it's taking a lot longer to get a response from the IRS. So that's something to be aware of for this year. is if everything goes well, you're able to electronically file, you can expect your refunds by mid-February, but it may take longer. When you are ready to prepare your tax return, and maybe you decide that you'll be paying for the services of a tax return preparer, be sure to get a copy of your tax return. This is really important because you'll have a chance to review the information that's listed in the tax return. Some of the mistakes that sometimes happen is a misspelling of the name or a social security number that has just one number that's been mistyped. Be sure to check it. Those small things can be helpful to your tax return preparer, especially things like the spelling of names and any information that you can read from the tax return. You'll want to keep a copy of it. And it might be that you get that copy of the tax return, take it home and review it later. If you find that something needs to be corrected, you can always make those corrections, but it is helpful to have the copy. You'll also want a copy of your contract, and you'll also want receipts from that tax return preparer. What are the services you paid for, and how much did they charge? What's their name, their address? Ask them for a business card. Keep that information with you. And look out for warning signs. If a tax return preparer is charging you a fee based on how large your refund is, that's a red flag. And that's because no matter what tax return preparer you go to, you should get the similar amount of refund, and the tax return should look almost the same no matter who you go to. And if your tax return preparer refuses to give you their prepared tax identification number, that's another red flag. Tax return preparers will sign the tax return saying that they prepared it. They'll also include their prepared tax identification number. And if that information is missing, that's a red flag for you, because it's something that doesn't usually happen. Why would they be keeping their information off of there? You also want to make sure that if you're going to deposit your refund into a bank account, be sure that it goes into your own bank account. I've had clients tell me that they were asked by their tax return preparer to send their refund to another bank account they didn't recognize, and then the tax return preparer kept their part of the refund as a payment for preparing the tax return, and then they would send the rest of the money to the taxpayer. And so that's a red flag, because your refund can go directly to you. And that way you make sure that the amount that's listed on your tax return matches the amount that you received as a refund and was directly deposited into your bank account. Another red flag is if your tax return preparer asks you to sign a blank tax return. You want to make sure that the document that you're signing, the document you're reviewing, is the one that you think is correct. If it's a blank tax return, it's possible for someone else to add information that you didn't get a chance to review. And the reason why it's important to keep a copy and keep the information about your tax return preparer, their address, their business card, is that many times what happens is that if, for example, the tax return preparer added a child to your tax return or changed information on that tax return, the IRS asks that you report that to the IRS. And what they ask you is, who is this tax return preparer? Can you tell us more about their business? Can you tell us about how much you paid for services? And you'll have this information already. And these are there's a form that you can submit to the IRS to alert the IRS that this has happened to you, that your tax return preparer has changed something or misled you about the information that you thought you were turning in. And so if you already have this information and you have stored it away, you can always pull it back out and report that to the IRS. Things to consider for the 2021 filing season is the letter that Raymond talked about. That's letter 6419. And this is about the advanced child tax credit payments. The letter is going to have information about how much the IRS sent to the taxpayer during the last half of 2021. And you'll want to keep this letter just like you would save your W-2 forms or your 1099 forms that you receive from employers or companies that you've worked for. And also things to remember is if you are missing your third economic impact payment, that was the $1,400 payment that families received, you can claim that in your 2021 tax return. If you're missing the earlier stimulus checks, that's the $1,200 stimulus check and the $500 stimulus check. If you're missing those, you'll want to file a 2020 tax return, and you'll claim the recovery rebate credit in those tax returns because you didn't get the stimulus check. So if you are missing a stimulus check and you're going to your tax return prepared to get your 2021 tax return prepared, just let them know, oh, I'm missing one of the stimulus checks, I didn't get the amount. And they'll help you figure out which tax return it has to be claimed on. The other place to check for information for 2021 is Code for America. They are working with the Treasury to create a portal to help families file their 2021 tax return. I checked yesterday on their website at getyourrefund.org to check to see if this portal was already available. And there was a sign-up sheet, and the staff will be letting people who sign up know when the services will be available. So this is a way to help families file their 2021 tax return online using their tool. This is geared towards families who normally don't file a tax return, but would like to file a tax return to claim the credits like the child tax credit and the earned income tax credit. Another good place to find updates from the IRS is the Irs News Feed from Twitter. They will give you reminders about the tax filing deadline. They'll let you know when you can start filing a tax return and any tips they have. And so that's a good place to go just to get a quick reminder about the tax season and anything to look out for, and that's Irs News. The tax filing deadline is April 18th. That's the day that our taxes are due. The tax return, the tax return is due. If you need more time, you can request more time, and that's with Form 4868, and that'll give you more time to file your tax return. And if you do owe taxes, be sure to pay those on the regular April 18th deadline. Here's my contact information again. You're welcome to call me. I am hosting a tax hotline on Fridays, and that is for anybody who has any questions. I'm happy to answer those on Friday mornings, and I'll provide Nia and Myra information about that tax hotline. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those. And again, I work for Houston Volunteer Lawyers. We offer various types of legal assistance, including assistance with divorce, probate, evictions, that's landlord-tenant issues, and we have a veterans program. We also have the low-income taxpayer clinic, which is the program that I work under.
Okay, thank you very much, Luz. there was only one question here in the chat that someone had asked or reminded me that we had distributed some information that we got from the United Way about a program called Taxpayer. Do you know if United Way is going to be providing that service or that link or anything about Taxpayer? Do you know anything about that?
I'm not sure about United Way, but yes, TaxPayer is a software that helps taxpayers prepare their tax return. It's available online. You can sign up. Many people can use it for free. They do have criteria for using it for free. I haven't checked it for this year. It's a software that's offered actually to our low-income taxpayer clinic as a free software to use. And again, you file for free. The software does ask you questions to make sure you're eligible for the credits. I think it's similar to TurboTax. That's another free software that's available. I think TaxPayer is newer.
Okay, all right, good deal. So there are no other questions in the chat, but at this time, if anyone does have any questions that they'd like to ask directly of Ms. Martinez, please feel free to unmute yourself or raise your hand, and we'll be happy to kind of go in there or, you know, unmute you so that you can ask her directly. I know that a lot of people did have questions about what do you call it? The advance, the child tax credit. If they were eligible last year for whatever reason that they're not eligible this year, then is that money that they'd have to like actually pay back, or what happens then if they're no longer eligible?
This one is a tough area. So it depends on the scenario. It depends on what's going on. The IRS used the older year to calculate whether someone was eligible to receive the advanced child tax credit payments. So it could be that now in 2021, their income increased, or now the child or children are living with the other parent, but that parent got the payments. And so I think my advice for anybody trying to figure out, do I have to pay this back? Am I eligible for it? I would say to contact one of the low income taxpayer clinics, and there's 3 of them in Houston. That's with South Texas College of Law, Houston, Lone Star Legal Aid, and Houston Volunteer Lawyers. And the reason I'm suggesting that people go and talk about their specific scenario is because the IRS has given us some guidelines for safe harbors. That's a protection for taxpayers. If they did get those payments, they might be protected and they might not have to pay back those payments, but there are eligibility criteria for that. And so it's best to talk to someone about your specific scenario. But I think this is new for tax return preparers as well. And so they'll ask things like, who was getting the payments? Where were the payments going to? Was it to one of the parents? Where were the kids living in 2021? How much was your income? What was the increase? And that'll help the person guide you through figuring out whether this is something you have to pay back. It's, I think, been a challenge for everybody because it was very confusing from the beginning, and people weren't able to stop those payments because they didn't know if they were eligible for them. And the IRS is sending out letters that Raymond talked about to try and see if to look at the calculations, but you know, it is still confusing for families.
Okay, when someone registered, someone did ask a question. What is the process for protesting your taxes with the IRS? So if they filed a tax return and IRS says that there was a discrepancy, or, you know, something is incorrect, what is the process for them to, you know, to respond to that? Yeah, to dispute that.
The first step is make sure your address is updated with the IRS. So they're going to use the address that's on the tax return to send you notifications. In that notification, and this is, I think, what the the person who asked the question is talking about is, I'm being told by the IRS that I owe more taxes, or what I asked for wasn't correct, but I disagree with them. And so the first step is responding to that initial notification from the IRS. There's a phone number and also instructions about where to send documents. And so you always want to make sure you send in the documents, keep copies, and send it certified mail so that you have documentation about what you sent in. Then the IRS is going to send a response, and the process can take a very long time. And I think this is the frustrating part, because it doesn't feel like you were really given a chance to dispute it, to disagree. The letters that you get will often have deadlines on them. So even if the IRS doesn't agree with you and you've already sent documents saying, take a look at this, and this is why I should be able to receive the credit, you may have some deadlines coming up. One could be to the deadline to turn in documents. The other deadline that's really important is the deadline to file a petition in tax court. And that's important because it gives you an opportunity to talk to somebody else within the IRS and explain to them why you should be able to receive this credit. Many taxpayers represent themselves and file this petition on their own, but you can always get help from one of the low-income taxpayer clinics if you're eligible for their services. So that's the way you can disagree with the IRS, is in writing, showing your supporting documents that you are eligible for this credit. And sometimes it's a good idea to get help trying to figure out which documents to send in.
Is that something that HVL also does when if they've got eligible clients that really just don't know what to do or where to go or how to even start this process, that they can contact you guys to help with those kind of disputes as well?
Yes, I think one of the yes, they can come to Houston Volunteer Lawyers. One of the biggest challenges is trying to figure out what this letter is asking about. So many times the letter itself is confusing, and the letter explains why there's a discrepancy, why something doesn't match. But sometimes even that's a surprise. I've had clients come to me and say, I never worked for this company, but they're saying I made $60,000 on top of what I made at my current company. So I don't even understand what this is about. That's something we can help try and sort through, because we want to know what's happening with that. You know, is this about identity theft? Is someone else using their name to work? Is there something else going on here? And so it is important just to get some feedback about those letters. And sometimes people choose to respond to those letters on their own, and sometimes they don't know how to what's the next step, I think, is sometimes the hardest.
Okay. Another question that someone had here: how long do I have to use the tax filing status of widow?
Yes, I don't know about this one. This is one that I use less. I think this would be a question for Raymond, who's in charge of the tax preparation services.
Okay. So for the person that have that question, I will definitely make sure that Raymond's contact information is on the email. I will be sending out a link to go back to view the recording, as well as the documentation from his presentation that he wanted to have distributed to everybody, so that you can either go back and watch the recording again or share with someone else. Let's see. Process of taxing. Okay. Taxes on pension and Social Security benefits. If someone receives Social Security benefits and also has a side job, are they required to pay taxes on Social Security?
It depends on how much they're making. So I think usually what I hear people say is, I made Social Security, I received Social Security and I don't have to file a tax return. And what happens is that when you have this side job or this extra money coming in, once you reach a certain amount, you may have to pay taxes. best way to figure it out, especially if someone just started making money in this side job, is to have a tax return preparer take a look at it, and just check everything, because some of the other things they might ask you about are other kinds of income that you have that sometimes you don't think about, like any investments you've made, or something else that could be counted towards this calculation of whether you should file a tax return.
All right. Another question here was, how do you deal with missing deadlines due to probate or testamentary completions?
And I guess this could be a deadline to file a tax return, or
Yeah, I'm
file
assuming
something.
for an estate or something like that.
Yeah, I think it would depend on what's going on. You know, generally taxes are due on the deadline we file tax returns. Sometimes when no taxes, when you're not paying any taxes, but you still want to file a tax return, you should be filing your tax return on the correct date, but there aren't really any bad consequences because you don't owe taxes, so you're not being penalized for not paying taxes on time. So I think we would need to know more about what's going on with that probate and what they're trying to pay taxes on. Sometimes it's hard with the probate because if you don't have somebody who is set to take charge of those tax returns for either the estate or for some past years, whatever it is that's going on, you might run into issues about who can sign it and who's keeping track of everything. So I think that's a situation where you seek help from either the probate attorney who's helping you on the case, or a tax practitioner.
Okay. All right. Those were the questions that I had from when the participants actually went to register. So other than that, I don't have any other questions. Myra, is there anything that you'd like to add?
No, just reminding everyone that we're starting up again on February 2022. We will be sending out the schedule, and we will start every month, February, March, April, May. June and July will be taking a break, but we'll be sending out your schedules, and also go to www.nrcdc.org to get registered also. Thanks everyone. You guys stay safe.
Luz, is there anything else that you'd like to add that you didn't cover in your presentation? I mean, you covered a lot of information here. I mean, was sitting here trying to take notes and keep track of everything I'm supposed to know, to where I need to ask when I go to file my tax returns, like, wait, no, Luz didn't say this. Wait a minute. Oh no.
Yes, I think this year's a little bit tough. I think the other reason why it has been more challenging, and it's going to be challenging, I think, for all of us, is that probably your tax return preparer is going to be busier than normal because there are some families who have never filed before. Same thing with the free tax return preparation services. So doing it, gathering those documents as early as possible is a good idea, and contacting your tax return preparer to try and make some time, because I do think that everybody's going to be a little busier this year than they were in the past, and always reaching out for help. And if you have any questions, I might not be able to answer them, but the Low Income Taxpayer Clinic that I'm a part of is a part of a very large organization. There are low income taxpayer clinics all over the US. And so if you know someone who is living, let's say, in California and also needs help getting some answers about the child tax credit, there may be a program near them. So we are part of a very large group, and we're so happy to be connected with City of Houston and all of the partners here today. So I think that getting help and asking questions are, I think, the best advice I have right now.
Okay. She says, where can I get free tax preparation services?
You can call 211 and ask for a list of those services. And before going, because you'll get a list and then locations, ask them for their eligibility. Because Myra brought this up, is they do have income eligibility. So just be sure to ask them about their income eligibility.
Okay. All right. One other thing I'd like to add or kind of reiterate is to please do your research and be careful with, people are putting these signs all over the road and on the corners and, in mailboxes or what have you about tax preparation services. Make sure it's a referral that you guys know of someone that's actually reputable. If you don't want to utilize the services of the free tax preparation services, just kind of be aware and be conscious that, there are a lot of scammers out there. There are a lot of illegal practices going on. So be careful when you're out there giving, your social security, your personal detailed information to a lot of these, kind of fly by night kind of companies that are out there. So just be mindful of that. I believe that is all that we have for today. Starting February 1st, next Tuesday, we have our Basics of Family Law as part of our community empowerment series. On Wednesday, we have our first Money, Health, and Wealth financial capability. That is for the love of money, how to better maintain your relationship with money, and our legal advanced planning and why you need it. I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, Nia, that would be something my husband would say, Myra, you need to go and watch this because money goes right through my hands.
Well, I mean, especially now with everybody filing tax returns and, you need to know, kind of be careful. What is it that you do with these tax refunds, and how do I, keep from just blowing through it and people feel like, I got extra money now, so I can, do this, that, and the other. Granted that you're not supposed to, my dad used to always say, treat yourself, don't cheat yourself, but you also need to make sure that you prepare for that rainy day fund, or that you have that emergency fund kind of put aside, and filing a tax return and getting that tax refund will be a good jump start to putting that little stash cash away somewhere just in case for a rainy day. February last year, those that don't remember, hopefully, God forbid, we don't have another winter storm that comes through, but just in case, make sure that everybody's prepared for those types of unexpected expenses that may come up as well too. So just be mindful of that. But
hey, Nia, did you know there's something I learned from my husband, Miss Luce? I just did not know that money did not grow in back of our yard on the tree. So who knew? I always thought that money grew, on trees, as per my husband. And so I think that class would be really great for me.
All right. With that being said, thank you guys very much for joining us this afternoon. I will be forwarding a link of this recording, as well as the schedule for the month of February and the information that was presented by Baker Ripley Neighborhood Tax Center as well. I just received his email, so look for that information to come. Please, again, pay it forward, share the information with folks that may find this information to be beneficial as well. If you guys do have questions in the meantime, my contact information will be included on the email, and feel free to reach out and ask whatever questions that you may have, and I'll make sure that I get it forwarded to either to Luce or to Baker Ripley, so that they can be able to assist you guys with any additional questions. In addition to that, the schedule that we have for next month, if there's something on there that you guys would like to see that we don't currently offer, we are planning the rest of the year. So if we'd love to have you guys' feedback and let us know, hey, this will be a great particular topic, or this is something that is of really great interest or people may find to be beneficial, then please let us know so that we can make accommodations as we're planning. So I believe that is all that we have for this afternoon. Again, thank you guys for joining us. Stay warm, stay dry out there, and continue to do what you need to do to protect yourselves and stay safe. Thank you, Luz Martinez, and our partners with Houston Volunteer Lawyers, as well as the City of Houston Department of Neighborhoods. And on behalf of Neighborhood Recovery, thank you guys, and you have a wonderful afternoon and remainder of your day.
Thanks, everyone. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.